This channel exists for one purpose: to teach myself how to make videos. Everything here is part of the learning process: experiments, practice, and progress over time. Last week, my wife asked me to replace this fence before hurricane season hits. Mind you, hurricane season is still 6 months away. I told her, sure, no problem. Since then, she has brought it up 7 times. So here I am. The plan today was simple: remove the first panel, replace it, and move on with my day. Well, that was definitely easier said than done. First up was clearing away all the debris piled against the fence. We had old lumber, extra support beams, leftover aluminum from a re-roofing project, ladders, and a mountain of weeds. This cleanup alone took way longer than expected. For some reason, I thought I could just knock the old panel down, screw the new one in, and call it a day. Since it's my own fence, I clearly didn't evaluate the job properly. When it finally came time to take down that first panel, reality hit. Someone in the past had reinforced it with way more screws than necessary. On top of that, decades of soil had built up on both sides. Getting the post out required more than just lifting it up. Thanks to years of makeshift repairs, this thing was locked in place. A little wiggle here, a little wiggle there, and it started to give, but not enough. You'd think a former lifter could just yank it right out. Nope, not a chance. To get some leverage, I screw a steel bar to the post. While working it loose, then I check the wood for decay to see if I'd need a total replacement. Thankfully, it sounded solid. So, what was the next roadblock? Well, as I started measuring the post at 2.5 feet, the dogs started getting rowdy. There was no way I could take the panel down with them running around. Hey. Come on, guys. Come on. Note, it looks like my video clips got a bit mixed up here. In this view, we are back to breaking those stubborn screws loose and shaking the post again. Yeah. Yeah, fuck. So, this post has got to go over here. Alright, switching cameras to a steadier view. And look at that, we are finally lifting the fence post. Success! Obviously, I pre-loosened it before filming this shot. But now we have to re-dig the hole. I am not looking forward to this. I absolutely hate dealing with dirt, and I hate digging. To make it easier, I bought this new power auger. For the most part, it works great. What it doesn't do, however, is cut through heavy tree roots. If you look at that massive oak tree over there, you can guess what I'm dealing with. My entire yard is a subterranean network of roots, and the only way to get through them is by using a sawzall. Alright, so here we are, finally wrapping up with the auger after slicing through all those roots with the sawzall. I measured the depth, did a bit more digging, and it looked good to me. But of course, it was back to the manual post hole digger. God, I hate this thing. And looking back, I think this is the exact spot where I dug the hole way too deep. Next up, dropping the new post in and lining it up with the string line. I'll be honest, I did not come prepared for this part. I'm trying to use these tiny little stakes to hold the post in place. They really should be much longer, but hey, you use what you've got. And let me tell you, these corner levels absolutely suck. At least this specific one does. It's a great idea in theory, but in reality, not so much. Since this was a solo job, I built this homemade panel dolly. I call it Hello Dolly. I really should have made two of them, but I only had the one. This was my first time actually using it, so I wasn't entirely sure of the right technique, but it seemed to get the job done. Best of all, the panel didn't fall on my head. Next came the fun part, moving more dirt out of the way for the new panel. Like I mentioned earlier, the ground level had built up by at least a few inches over the years. To make matters worse, the previous owner must have had dogs that loved to dig under the fence. There is landscaping edging running all the way down the line, which is going to be a massive pain in the neck later on. Now, if you're wondering why there's a sudden gap in the footage, it's because my wife, who strictly refuses to be on camera, stepped in and did a whole lot of heavy lifting to help me bring that first panel in. So, huge credit to her for the assist. Now, I know in the beginning I said I was only going to replace one panel. Well, I ultimately decided to just go ahead and do the other two. That meant making one more trip to the hardware store to pick up what I needed. I couldn't just leave the yard insecure for the dogs. Keeping them safely contained was the top priority. So here we go again, banging the old panel loose. This post was in there nice and tight. I grabbed the shovel to clear some dirt from around the base so we could lift the thing right out of the ground. Easy peasy, right? Well, not so easy peasy. The tree roots were so brutal in this spot that I didn't even bother trying the auger. I knew the manual post hole digger would be my only real option. First, I had to remove some old screws left behind by the previous owner. Then, I finally put my gloves on and boom, we got it out. I used a completely different level this time. If I failed to mention it before, my last post ended up being slightly off. This time, I measured twice, maybe even 3 times, to be sure. Yep, right on the money. I got myself some much longer stakes this time around. Next up was mixing and pouring the concrete, which happens to be my second least favorite job in the world. I believe this was a 60-pound bag of mix, and I ended up throwing just about all of it in there. I checked the measurement again, nudged it a little bit, and yay, it's perfectly level. When I got to the third post, it was actually in the right place and felt completely solid. I didn't see any logical reason to rip it out, but it was too short for the new panels. So you can see me attaching a temporary wood extension onto the top of it. Down the road, I'll replace it with a taller permanent extension, but this will do the trick for right now. Alright, I'm back from the hardware store with the rest of the panels and my handy dandy panel dolly. Now all that's left is to maneuver it around the yard. Easy peasy. And look at that, the second panel magically put itself up. Well, I guess it's time to install the third and final panel. You know how video editing goes. It can't be too long and it can't be too short. The video is dragging a bit, so I cut out the installation footage of the second panel. But as you can see, despite that massive oak tree and all its underground roots, I got everything up, secured, and looking pretty damn level.